What is up, everybody? Welcome into Wednesday's episode of the Vendetta Sports Media Daily Show. I'm Jerry Walker. Alongside me is Jackson Fyda. Jackson, before we hop into the latest news in specific for this soccer news, we're going to be covering two of the big tournaments that are into the final stages. So, first of all, how are you doing, though, today?
I'm good. I'm a little tired, but good and ready to get talking about some soccer.
Oh, yeah, you've been playing all day, a lot of training, I assume. So, nice
Yeah,
little break for you.
yeah. Hopefully, once we get through this week, we'll be back to posting normally too. So just got to make it
Yeah.
to Saturday.
Hey, all you have is a few more days and you'll be back ready for everything to go. And
Mm-hmm.
when do you start school, or have you started that already?
Back Wednesday.
Wednesday? Okay. So a week left.
Week
And it's
left.
go for everybody here. So we will enjoy the time while we have it. But hopping into tournaments, specifically, we'll start with the one down under the Women's World Cup. Two semifinals have happened over the last 2 days, and we'll start with the first one, Spain versus Sweden. And don't know if you saw the highlights or watched any of that. It was a 2:30 in the morning kickoff, but what a final 10 minutes of that match.
Yeah, I didn't actually get to watch the game, obviously with the late, and I just haven't gotten around to watching the highlights yet. But yeah, 3 goals in the final 10 minutes is crazy. One minute after the other for Spain to end up winning it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. For those who weren't watching, it was Spain ultimately won the first semifinal 2-1 against Sweden. But as you said, Jackson, it was Spain took the lead in the 81st minute. At that point, you're thinking, oh, this is over. No way Sweden's going to get back. That's just so deflating after it was kind of a slow and stale rest of the match. Couple opportunities, but nothing too great. Spain takes the lead. 88th minute, Sweden scores on a corner kick or a cross into the box, so makes it 1-all. At that point, at least I know personally, I was thinking, okay, 1-all. We're not going to get any more chaos. This is going to go extra times. Then someone will win it there. Why? Why would I think that ever in the women's World Cup?
Foolish.
Spain comes out 2 minutes later, 90th minute. There's kind of a banger into the top right corner by Camora to give Spain the 2-1 victory and send them into their first ever Women's World Cup final.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like we've been kind of preaching about how good Spain is ever since when we previewed it, especially when you see the growth and development of women's soccer in Spain.
Yeah.
This is massive for them. And honestly, I feel like it's pretty well deserved. They've had a good tournament. I think they had one rough game at the beginning, didn't? Oh yeah, the Japan game.
No.
Yeah, the Japan game, which was just absurdity at its finest. But apart from that, they've been very solid. And honestly, if you told me at the beginning of the tournament that Spain would be in the final, I 100% would have agreed, would have believed it. Yeah, they're a good team. And Sweden, great run. Obviously knocked out the U.S. women's team and looked like they might be able to send another game to extra time and win that way. But yeah, hats off to Spain. They got the job done and first Women's World Cup final. That's huge for them.
Absolutely. I mean, grinding out 2 wins in the quarterfinals, it needed extra time to get by the Netherlands 2-1, then obviously a 90th minute winner to get by Sweden. The Spain team's kind of finding their groove after that Japan loss, which was the last group stage match, lost 4-0, ended up finishing second in the group. Let them play Switzerland, which was a little more beneficial as they won that one 5-1. So it's a scary thing with Spain is they're playing their best football at the right time and could be an issue for who we'll talk about in a second, that winner of the England and Australia match. But as far as Sweden goes, I expected this sort of match where they were kind of going to try and drag it out a bit. We've talked about how good they were defensively. They showed that one against the U.S., despite the lack of offense by the U.S. in this game, in that match. Then held Japan, who had been scoring goals left and right this tournament, to just 1 goal to grind out a win there. They've been a good defensive team, and I was kind of expecting this, but it just was that offense was lacking in the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's just, at the end of the day, that's what made the difference. But like you said, definitely would have thought Sweden would play like this. And it looked like that tactic may have worked for them. Again, tied up in the 88th minute. At that point, you're kind of just expecting to go to extra time. I feel like psychologically, when there's a late goal like that in a knockout kind of game like that, you're like, okay, finish it out, and then we got extra time. So I'm wondering if the Swedish players immediately started thinking about that extra time instead of focusing on the next, because they literally got scored on a minute later. I don't know what the drive looked like again because I haven't seen the highlights or anything. I don't know what led up to the goal, but giving up a goal a minute later is just inexcusable at that point. I wonder if they were just thinking already too far ahead to extra time.
It did look a little bit like that. It was, I mean, I ended up watching the whole match on the replay that was shown later in the day, and
Mm-hmm.
it was just exactly that. Spain kind of looked like, or Sweden kind of looked like they shut off a bit, and Spain just went right down the field and found the little bit of space that they needed just inside or just outside the box. I mean, and
Yeah.
just drilled it into the top right corner, and nothing the Swedish goalkeeper could do about it. And that was really, at that point, you knew there wasn't going to be anything else. And sure enough, there wasn't this time. But it would
Same.
not have surprised me at all if there had been another
Yeah,
twist in this match.
you say that like, oh, there can't possibly be anything else, but we've seen some crazy stuff during this Women's World Cup.
Yes, we have. And Spain on to the final, Sweden into the third place, the most meaningless game in sports.
Dude,
I
what are
will
your thoughts on that?
on the
Just the
third
third,
place match.
yeah.
I don't see any real I'm not a huge fan of it. I guess it's just there for the TV, for the monies to crown a third place team, but I never watched the third place match. I
Mm-hmm.
just can't get around to it. I'll watch maybe the first half and then I'll be like, I
All
got
right.
other things to do. But it's like at times
Yeah.
it can be exciting, but
No, I
for the
agree. Like outside of the Olympics, there's like no point in getting third place. I feel like the
no.
Olympics for everything, you get the bronze medal. I mean, that's an accomplishment. But for like soccer in the World Cup, no one gives a crap if you finish like third. I don't know. I don't like. I remember who was it? Was it Phil Neville who was coaching the English team at the last Women's World Cup? Gary,
Oh,
which
it was
Neville was?
this is one of the Nevils.
It was either Phil or Gary. I don't know who it was, but yeah, he was literally like, "Oh, this is such a meaningless game," and like people came down on him. But I remember I was like, "You got a point. Like, there's no point at that point. You're already deflated. You're not moving on." I, I don't know. I don't like it.
Yeah, it was Phil Neville who had been the manager at that point who was also briefly the manager of Inter Miami, which that was an experience in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Reason
Yeah.
they are struggled so much. But go to the other semifinal. That was this morning. I woke up at 5 a.m. to watch it because it was England and Australia. And England got off to the right foot first, getting a goal from Ella Toon. Took that 1-0 lead into halftime, and then Sam Kerr did what she's known to do, finally looking like that dangerous player. Had some very good chances in the first half, but couldn't quite find the back of the net. Couple
Mm-hmm.
big saves by the English goalkeeper. And then she just drilled one in. It did take a slight deflection, but it was still a great move in kind of in the middle of three English defenders outside the box, top bins. Kind of what you expected. Got the Australian crowd right back into it because they were silent for the first 60 minutes.
Yeah, and dude, I didn't have it. Sorry, I just cramped up so hard.
Oh.
That's not my fault. Holy crap. Anyway, so yeah, were they really silent during the game? Because
They,
I'm assuming there was an insane amount of Australian fans there.
they were definitely loud for the first 25, 30 minutes. And then once England scored, definitely took the steam out of the smoke out of their lungs and kind of quieted them a good amount until Kerr scored. And I thought, I mean, watching that, I thought suddenly, oh, this is what Australia needs. It's now 1-1. Going to get that boost, kind of start building momentum. Looked a little more dangerous to begin the second half than England.
Mm-hmm.
But England took the 2-1 lead in the 71st minute with a goal from Hemp, who scored her first goal of the tournament, I believe, or at least only won this match in kind of dominating fashion, and came up big with an assist as well to Russo, who scored the win or the 3-1 goal that kind of put the icing on the cake a minute after Kerr had just missed a wide open header. Could have been 2-all very, very easily, but instead England made Australia pay, go down the other way, make it 3-1, and that kind of wrapped it up. But this was a very exciting one intensity-wise. first 10 minutes, we had a yellow card to Alex Greenwood of England for cutting down Sam Kerr. A couple aggressive tackles, and England did what they had to do to win this one. Australia just kind of looked outclassed.
Yeah, and again, we were talking at the beginning of the tournament and throughout it, and we were saying how good this England women's team really is. I've been saying I think they're the best team in the world, top to bottom. Like when you look at the whole squad who was at this tournament, obviously a little shaky moment with the Nigeria game, but apart from that, they have looked so good this whole time. And yeah, to beat the host like that, 3-1 in the semifinal, it's very impressive and shows just how good because Australia is a very, very good team playing on home soil with the home fans. I kind of, in my mind, even though I thought England was better, thought they would pull it. And I honestly did. So 3-1. Obviously, you mentioned that Sam Kerr header that could have made it 2-2, but sounds like they were just kind of outclassed from start to finish anyway. So that just shows how good this England team is and how they're peaking at the right moment.
Yeah, I mean, England outshot Australia 12-7, had 59% of the possession. Definitely the more physical team as well with 11-4 fouls. But I'm wondering if Australia obviously had that penalty kick shootout against France, that long penalty shootout as well in the quarterfinals. I'm wondering if that took a toll on them in this one, especially starting out early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, tired legs. It always plays a factor. Whenever you're in like a tournament like this, if you have to go to extra time and then, God forbid, even longer with penalty kicks, the other team already is at an advantage. Like no matter what, when you're playing another 30+ minutes of competitive action, you're going to be more tired. And yeah, that could have definitely played a factor for sure because England didn't have to deal with that in their last game because they beat Colombia 2-1 straight out. So definitely could have played a factor, especially, what was it, a slow start for Australia, more or less?
Yeah, it was definitely a slow start. And England played a little physical. Every time Kerr got the ball, they'd cut her down and do a tackle that you'd be proud of, but not always the cleanest. Just let her know you're there.
So yeah, that definitely could have played a big part. Just that, especially because that penalty shootout was crazy. Like how long it went. So yeah, definitely.
The emotional drain of it because I believe Australia or one of them saved a penalty. Then it was ruled that they had to retake the penalty because the keeper was off the line and then hit the post. So very stressful one as well, emotionally draining. But that puts us with England and Spain in the Women's World Cup final Sunday, 5 a.m. Central, 6 a.m. Eastern time. I know I will be up for it. Don't know if you will be or not.
I'll try.
But
I'll try.
What are your expectations? Because these are two teams that love having possession of the ball and much more dominant on the ball and kind of playing their style of game.
Yeah, this one is going to be, honestly, I'm just going to throw this out there. In terms of nations who have really improved women's soccer, these are, in my opinion, are the two premier nations. Yeah. When you look at the support they're getting in Spain, where they're getting like hundreds of thousands of fans to go to an FC Barcelona women game. And then you're seeing the fan support in England, and there's just the development in both these countries. This is definitely the matchup you'd want to see in terms of that. And like you said, the thing that's going to be fun about this is both teams like to kind of assert their own style on the other team. Spain likes a lot of possession. They want to dominate the ball. It's a little bit like the men's side a little bit. And then, yeah, England, pretty similar, like to be on the front foot. So this is going to be interesting. I'm going to back England. I think they're a better team top to bottom. Again, I think they're the best team top to bottom, even with their injuries. Even with all that stuff, I still think they're the best team at this Women's World Cup. So I think England will win just because they're better. But they might actually lose the possession battle to Spain. And it might be a little bit more quick attacks, whereas Spain has longer bouts of possession. Obviously, I could be completely wrong. I have no idea. That's the beautiful thing about soccer is you never know. But if I had to take a guess, I'm going to guess that Spain has more possession, but England wins by 2+ goals.
Okay, so you think it's a relatively comfortable win for England?
Yeah, I do.
I like that pick. I'm looking at it like they're as good as both these teams are. They are familiar with each other as well. Played in the quarterfinals of the Women's Euros last summer, and England beat Spain there in the quarterfinal on their way to winning it 2-1 in extra time. Those two teams have only gotten better. And like you said, the money that's thrown into the women's game in both those countries is improving the talent immensely. This is why we're seeing the U.S. go out in the round of 16 and seeing a whole lot of European and other nations making further runs now. Part of it's also what we've spoken about. The U.S. has issues both internally and externally, some stuff going on there, but it's shown that the investment that's being made by these other countries is really paying off. So we'll see all that high-level talent in this one, and I am going to go with you. I do think England win this one. I don't think it's a multi-goal win. I do think it'll end up being probably 1-0 or 2-1 again. I think it gets done in regulation. But it's going to be a very, very, very exciting and close match by two teams that very contradicting styles of play, both trying to have the ball. One of them is not going to win that possession battle, and I do agree with you. I think England is going to be the one that loses out. But I think that attacking depth of Russo, Hemp, Laura James will be back. That's a big boost for England. She'll be back after her 2-match suspension. I think England just has a little bit too much talent. We'll see, though. Like you said, it would not surprise me one bit if Spain wins this one because they do have the talent in Alexa Pulis, a couple other players that are just have been class this tournament, and they're finding goals from anywhere. Obviously, the one that scored the winner against Sweden, Olga Carmona, is their left back.
Yeah.
So players are stepping up when they need to, and that's what makes a team dangerous when they're clicking on all levels. I am going to back England, but it's a little bias in there, so we'll see.
I'm unbiased, so, and I think England will win, so totally fine on your part.
Who knows? First time since '66, something might be coming home. I guess you had the Women's Euros last year, but first time a World Cup would be coming home.
Because of that, I want Spain to win now.
Yeah, that's fair.
Do you remember that interview before England played Denmark in the Euro finals, and they asked Schmeichel what it would mean to him to make it so it didn't come home? Do you remember that? Did you ever see that interview?
Yeah, I remember that.
You got to lose every single thing you play in because of that attitude. You're not asking him what it would mean for Denmark. I mean, what would it mean to not? And he literally said it in the interview. He's like, I don't really care
about knocking them out. I want us to win.
Yeah, that's why I kind of want to see you guys lose every single tournament you're in. You guys have this entitled attitude, even though you haven't won anything since '66. I don't get it, but
I think it's part of. To me, it's more of a meme at this point. You're gonna keep singing the song and hoping that something does eventually work out.
Mm-hmm.
As we've seen, at least in the men's game, nothing has worked out. Even at home in the 2020 Euros, losing on penalties to Italy. Finding ways to lose is England's best skill.
Their bread and butter.
So we'll see. But moving across the pond back this way, we are into the finals of the Leagues Cup. And who would have thought the golden boy, Lionel Messi, has guided last place Inter Miami to the final?
Dude, it's not fair. It's really not. He's too good for the MLS, man. Like, to be doing this at 36, I do think he's actually cares and enjoys it more here than he did at PSG. I genuinely believe that, and that's why he's playing like this. This is like prime. It's not prime Messi, but this is like high level Messi again. Because most of what he's doing is very, very high level. Don't get me wrong, MLS defenders are still tragic. They really are.
And the goalkeeping is not
half the time, but he still is doing just crazy stuff.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's not only his impact on the ball, it's when he's off the ball. Like you see Josef Martinez getting a goal 3 minutes in. That's because Philadelphia defenders are worrying about Messi on the side, and they have to turn their attention to him, Busquets a little bit, even though he's more in that midfield, that it opens up these holes for other players. It's kind of like what we've talked about in the past of NFL with receivers, or even in the NBA with certain players. You have to double team them. That always means someone else is going to be open. And Miami is taking advantage of that to the fullest. Beat the Philadelphia Union 4-1 last night in Philly. besides Messi scoring, I loved seeing that Jordi Alba got a goal.
Mm-hmm.
He's just fit in perfectly from everyone's new favorite player, Robert Taylor, getting the assist there.
Love him. He has become so good since Leagues Cup started. He went from absolute zero, no one knew who this dude was, to suddenly it's Robert Taylor this, Robert Taylor that, Robert Taylor goal, Robert Taylor assist every game. So
Here's the one. I honestly assumed he was probably an American international. Do you know what country Robert Taylor plays internationally for?
Finland.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that surprised me.
Yeah, his dad was a professional player in Finland. Gave birth to him over there, so he's of English descent. But yeah, he's a Finnish international, and I don't know. He's had to have been called up, right?
Yeah, he has 29 caps for Finland
Okay.
and one, but he'll be getting called up more frequently, I would assume now after his current performance.
Well, you have to at this point. With as well as he's playing, you just have to. And what I love is he was playing non-league a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, for who's it? Lincoln City, I think.
Yeah, Lincoln City.
Austin.
Playing for a whole load of tiny teams here and there.
Mm-hmm. And now he's balling out with Lionel Messi, and he's got the whole world watching him, it seems like. And Buddy's killing it. Oh, sorry, another one. Buddy's
Jackson's struggling from the athlete's injury of choice. The worst one that you can really get, sitting down and just cramping up.
Yeah, that's all good for managing. But but yeah, dude, he keeps playing like this. He could get himself a little move back over the pond.
He could. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously it helps immensely playing next to Messi.
Yeah, but
it's just that everything's made easier when he's standing by.
Yeah.
I will say, though, they have their work cut out for them in this final. They're playing Nashville SC, who is not an easy team by any means. Nashville ended up beating Monterrey 2-0, and it was kind of a first half was a little back and forth. Second half was all Nashville, and got an early goal in that second half or 67th minute, then closed it out with a 96th minute to make it 2-0. And these fans are ready for Messi, I'll tell you that much. I was at the quarterfinals match against Minnesota where I thought that was going to go to penalties. Nashville came out and won 5-0. And I know I sent you the video in the Slack group. In Slack, the Nashville fans were chanting, "We want Messi" from the quarterfinals onward. They're getting their option now.
Yeah, they got with it. They're going to get what they wanted. And Nashville looks good, though, dude. Like, they really do. I remember I watched them, who was it, against FC Cincinnati, I want to say.
Oh, yeah.
In the
round of 32.
32, went to Pens. I thought they kind of were a little lucky in that game. But ever since then, they have been – I mean, they got another penalty win against America. I didn't watch that one, so I can't really speak on that.
That was just an absurd match all around.
Yeah.
Pure chaos.
What happened in that one again?
That was the one where it was 0-0, and then there was a late goal by or it was 1-1. Then there was a 94th minute goal by America to go up 2-1, and Nashville scored in the 99th.
Okay, yeah, that's what.
Then it went to the penalties, and America had thought they won. Nashville leaving, fans were leaving, players were going towards the tunnel, and then the VAR came out and said the goalie was off the line. Guy comes back in, slots the penalty. Nashville ends up winning in the next round.
Yeah, and ever since that, they've been, 5-0 and then 2-0 against Monterrey. They're cooking.
They are indeed, but it's hard not to believe that Messi is going to get it done.
Yeah.
It feels like everything's lined up perfectly. And as I said to a couple people, from the Nashville side of things, you're not just going against Messi in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
The whole world, MLS, Apple TV, all kind of benefit from Messi winning it. So we will see what happens in that final on Saturday. I was hoping to be there in attendance, but as I mentioned to you beforehand, so let me put it this way. Prices for tickets for the last two rounds, I could pay $25, go stand in the fans section at the end of the stadium. Starting out before fees for this Miami match, $307. Just a little bit more expensive, and that's the Messi effect for you.
Yeah, the Messi effect's crazy. It really is. I mean, the amount of like, I guess I'd say the allure that he's brought with him to the MLS is crazy. How people are getting up early across the world now to watch Inter Miami games.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually insane, and there are gonna be so many tuning in now because they're gonna see final. Oh,
Yep.
final! They're gonna tune in because Messi's playing in a final.
And it could be his record-breaking final. If he wins this, it'll be his 44th trophy that he has won in his career, which will separate him from Danny Alves for the most of any player all time.
Yeah, he doesn't have to worry about Danny Alves adding any more.
Yeah.
Either.
No, it's all but done there. So this is going to be a historic day for Messi, historic day here. I'm trying to find out what hotel the Inter Miami players are staying at. Let me walk down there, see if I can run into Busquets or Messi or everyone's favorite Robert Taylor.
Yeah, just hang out in the lobby all day. Hang out in the lobby all day.
I'll say that's one of the funniest sports stories I've had was my dad, brother, and I, we were in Brazil for the Copa Americas. We happened to be staying in the same hotel as Argentina. We come down the elevator. We're greeted by a whole load of fans with their cameras ready and the disappointment on their face when they saw three white guys walk out and it wasn't Messi or Aguero or DePaul or any of those guys was just hilarious.
You should have started signing autographs, man.
Oh, I know. Should have just pulled a pen out and just acted like I was part of something, but no.
Yeah, you're the 27th man on the roster.
Yep.
Yeah.
28th man on a 26-team player roster. Perfect. But no, Jackson, that kind of wraps up our Leagues Cup. Or do you have predictions for the final, I guess, before we do that?
He wins. Messi scores a goal. I don't know what the score will be,
but
the Leagues Cup has been absolutely absurd with the score, like the scores and just the overall storylines and games. So I'm not even going to try making a call on that, but I think Inter Miami does win and Messi gets a goal.
Yep. I've been riding that bet on my sports apps all tournament long. Inter Miami, Messi. One more, why not? I am going to be pulling for Nashville as I do live there now, but I don't see any other way that this goes. I think Messi gets it done. Wouldn't be surprised if it's a Messi in a final. We could see a brace. We'll see.
Yeah.
But should be entertaining nonetheless. MLS is pure carnage, and this is the last one before we actually see Messi's MLS debut, which will be exciting for everybody. But Jackson, moving on to some transfer news. One of Messi's former teammates is making headlines. Drop my pen. Neymar going from PSG to Al Hilal for a hell of a lot of money.
Dude, that package is actually crazy. 300, 2 years, and then possibly 400, depending. And he gets, is it 500 every social media post?
It's like 500 or 1,000 every social media post benefiting or advertising for Saudi Arabia. He's got like an 80,000 something post or boost in there. Yeah, something.
They win, they get some crazy amount. It's like it feels unreal. It feels, again, if you were to somehow play Football Manager and just play a game where you can just have no financial restrictions and just have all the money in the world. And you could just go get whoever the hell you want. Like, it's actually crazy. Like, I know how they have this much money, but I don't know how they have this much money to fund soccer.
Yeah, it's because, I mean, we had that with China. Like, we've spoken about it before. China had all this money. They didn't have consistent money and weren't bringing in the views and the good players that they had hoped. Saudi Arabia is doing a brilliant job of bringing in talent. And looking at it, season is only one match in, but we have Roberto Firmino leading the league in goals in his first match with his club. He's got 3 goals. So it's gonna be an entertaining league to watch. It's just how the hell do you watch it?
It's Fox.
It is Fox.
Okay. Yeah, Fox got the rights. They hopped on that.
And whatever's they're doing it right. Matches are looking like it's going to be usually 11 Eastern time, 11 a.m. Eastern time, and 2 p.m. Eastern time for most of those time slots. So that's not bad at all.
Yeah, they want the European viewership at night, and then you can get American viewership
during the
during the
day.
day. So they've got the games right. They're also in a pretty favorable time zone, I want to say,
Mhm.
all things considered, in terms of being able to reach those audiences. The thing that they're going to be missing out on is China, which, to be fair, I think that Chinese market is behind the US, probably the second biggest in terms of consumership. But yeah, I mean, everything else, they're going to be able to get a lot of European interest, I think, with all these players that they have now. Yeah, Neymar and Ronaldo in the same league. Like, you're going to be getting so many people watching now.
Oh yeah, I mean, plus Benzema's over there, and
Mhm.
one thing that's kind of got me a little bummed out about the end of an era, to say the least, is you remember all those games, all those times where it was the amazing MSN versus um, Ronaldo, Bale, Benzema,
Mhm.
on the BBC. All 6 of those attacking players are now out of Europe, which is kind of crazy to see, but that's what happens over time.
Yeah, dude. And one day I'm going to be able to tell my grandkids about how none of those players can match up to these ones.
Yeah.
Continue that cycle. But
Yeah.
dude, I still feel like that generation we saw of attack was just so good.
Yeah, it was really something special, and won't be many things like that. We almost had another trio that was like that, the almighty Mbappe, Messi, and Neymar. But
Yeah,
now
but
that's all chaos, and now it seems like Mbappe is going to be staying at. I don't know what that was.
yeah, whoa. Yeah,
My
that was weird.
computer's making weird noises. But oh, but no, it's Mbappe looking to be heading to stay at PSG.
Yeah,
I
which
don't think any of us are really that surprised.
dude, he's such a little prima donna.
He's a
That's
little.
why in a Slack chat I was like, I don't want him at Arsenal. Hot take, but I don't want him at Arsenal. I just everything's about him and making everything so big and oh, Messi's moving to Miami. Well, guess what? I'm not gonna stay at PSG. It's like it just feels like he wants everything to be about him.
Yeah.
Now he's gonna freaking stay. He's such a little bitch for that. I mean, he's such a little bitch, dude.
He is, though. I mean, it's like either make up your mind, don't keep going back and forth, because we know come January or come next season,
It's gonna be
PSG,
the same shit.
yeah, and PSG still wants him to sign that extension now. I don't know if he is. I don't know if he did sign it to 2025. I've seen rumors of both or reports of both. Had he, say he has, it doesn't matter. Come next summer, we're going to be in the same situation of, oh, I want to move, but now I have another year on my contract. PSG wants to sell him, but it's going to be a constant circle of absolute buffoonery between those teams.
And if I'm PSG, honestly, dude, are I might be okay with just cutting ties with him. What has he won that you weren't already winning without him? You've won nothing. And by that I mean Champions League. You haven't won the Champions League. And if anything, you've looked shaky in League One. You won by 1 point last year. So it's not really like you can go ahead and act like they're making a huge difference.
And one of the years they didn't even win it.
Yeah, was it 1 year or 2 years?
I think it was one of the years that was it. It was Lille, wasn't it? That just managed to pull off a remarkable run.
That was before the Euros. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that do you really need all that bullshit where you just have your star player who's not winning you anything that you weren't already winning, just complaining and trying to drag your like club's hierarchy through the mud every transfer window?
Yeah.
I think you just if you're them, I'd be like, dude, get the hell out of here. Good riddance. We'll move on. We can go out and get other players who will actually form a team, which I think they've actually had a pretty good transfer window.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely. They're actually building the youth system up a little bit more and bringing in young guys that fit a project, not just superstar talent.
which is what you need to do. And I think Enrique is a good manager. Curious to see how he'll do, but again, I don't know, man. I feel like Mbappe just like disrupts everything because it's about him. It's got to be about him. He doesn't get a pass, he stops running. It's like kind of like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And I don't know, dude. If I'm PSG, which I'm not. And I understand there's obviously financial ramifications for selling him. But I just feel like, dude, get the hell out. I'm done.
Yeah, I completely understand and agree with you. And I mean, last thing I really want to talk about, kind of rant a bit about those guys and the shit that's going on there. Well, same sort of stuff as Mbappe kind of wanting to leave but not committing one way or another. Willie Nanto, now Sinisterra for Leeds. Both of them are refusing to play matches, refusing to travel with the team, trying to force moves, at least in Nanto's sake, to move to Everton. At this point, it's negative stuff. Same with Mbappe, negative stuff in the dressing room. Players don't want to play with him. Fans are turning on him. It's just bad mojo, bad vibes all around, and got to just cut ties. I think, from as far as Mbappe, like it's much more money involved there than say Nanto's a 19-year-old international for Italy who just thinks he's God's gift to the world at the moment. I would love nothing more than to see him get his wish, go to Everton, and get relegated next season.
I think it could very easily happen with Everton.
And it could. That would make the season so much fun, especially if Leeds get their shit together, which they won't, and get promoted. But
dude, that's why I'm a little scared for Adams though, going on this, because he goes to Bournemouth. I think they could just go right back down, and then Leeds goes right back up, and then you're like, ah, shit, maybe I should have just stayed.
That's why I mean, like that was my whole theory before. Obviously, I'm biased as that's the team I support, but why not stay with this team? Just work your way right back up instead of going and playing for a money move to say Chelsea, where you just would sit on the bench, where Adams almost did, or Bournemouth, where you could get relegated. Or it just seems like a mess and it's chaotic. But
yeah, short-sighted by a lot of these guys. I feel like, it's just got to be back here, got to be back here, got to be back here. I think one of the best examples of seeing this kid who I went to the same academy as me, Matthew Hoppe, was at Schalke, scored a hat trick in a Bundesliga game, scored a few other goals, was looking like he could be an absolute stud. Yeah. Instead of staying with Schalke when they got relegated, he moves to Mallorca, and ever since then, his career has just completely stalled. Whereas Schalke, where he probably would have still scored goals, been like their starting striker, at least at the beginning of the year, could have played, gone back to the Bundesliga with him the next year. Instead, he's at Mallorca, doesn't play at all, goes to Middlesbrough, doesn't play, gets loaned around a lot. Now he's at the San Jose Earthquakes, all because he didn't just stay. I feel like a lot of these guys just get it through their mind that they're too good and don't actually think about, oh, maybe I should stay here. There's stuff I can work on in the lower leagues, get a little bit better, and then bang, I'm back up here, and then we go from there.
And I mean, yeah, absolutely. And like the guy you were talking about, he gets relegated with Schalke. And you said he was scoring goals in the Bundesliga to start out with.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to play lesser competition, lesser opponents. You could score even more goals, get your numbers up, then go get a bigger move to maybe not just a Bundesliga team, but a middle to higher tier Bundesliga team in one example. And you just increase your value by playing well against the opponents you play. Stats talk loud a lot of times. Obviously, you have to have fit systems sometimes, but if you're going and scoring 30 goals in the second division, that's better than playing in the top division and scoring 3.
Mm-hmm. It is.
It looks so much better, and especially as a young guy. So these guys a lot of guys just need patience, especially the young kids. And I wonder if it's a lot of like their agents are trying to get them money, because it has to be that they're like, oh, I can see you getting moved because I'll get paid more. And
dude, agents are evil, man. They really are.
I can believe that. Only looking out for themselves at the end of the day. They got to fill their pockets. But that's my little rant on that stuff. Thank you for the help. Jackson, anything else you want to talk about before we wrap this up? I know you probably got to get going soon. So
yeah, longer ones next week.
Yep.
Longer ones next week.
And everybody, stay tuned. We will miss the first week of the Premier League season last weekend, but we will have our first Premier League podcast coming out tomorrow. Finally, excited to be doing it. So stay tuned for that, and we'll be releasing that all over the Vendetta Sports website, YouTube, Twitter. So make sure you click that subscribe button on the YouTube channel below, or the Twitch channel if that's where you're watching. Follow along with us at the Vendetta Sports Media website, Twitter page. Stay tuned for all of not only our soccer coverage news, but all of the sports coverage news. College football, NFL kicking off soon, NBA and NHL not too far behind. From Jackson, for me, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.